Welcome to our Better Bookkeeping for Artists webinar on tracking your income, expenses, and insights. This will be, again, a deep dive into Artwork Archive's financial tracking tools. This is designed specifically for working artists. So today's goal is to show you how to confidently manage your art business finances throughout the year, not just during tax season. We are in the midst of tax season. So I know that's kind of right on top of everyone's minds. If the lucky few of you who have already finished, I am not. But we're talking about throughout the entire year financial bookkeeping with Artwork Archive. So whether you're tracking your sales, managing your expenses, or understanding your financial patterns through our Insights feature, the goal for today is to make bookkeeping feel less overwhelming and more empowering for us artists. Again, everyone here is saying hello in the chat. It's so great to have you all here. Feel free to keep, talking amongst your peers, saying hello, dropping your name and the kind of art that you make. We would also love to know if you are already an Artwork Archive user. If this is kind of, if you've been with us for a while, let us know. If this is your first kind of introduction to who we are and what we do for artists, let us know that as well in the chat. We would love to hear from you. And if you're dreading tax season or you're feeling uncertain about your art business finances, you're definitely in the right spot. We're going to go through lots of how-tos and tools and tricks for you today. A few housekeeping items. Let me make sure my slides are actually going forward. Looks like they stalled for a second there. There we go. So a few housekeeping items before we jump in. This webinar is being recorded, and then we will send out the recording in a follow-up email within 24 to 48 hours afterwards with all of those who registered along with the slides. So if you're here today, yes, you're getting the recording. If you need access to the captions, you can select the Show Captions button that's in your Zoom menu. And then keep using the chat feature throughout to say hi to your peers, introduce yourselves, talk amongst yourselves, and respond to any questions I might kind of throw out there into the void to see if anyone has anything to add with your peers as we get going. And then for any questions, though, that you have for us, Artwork Archive, today about the content in today's webinar, please be sure to use the Q&A button that's in your Zoom menu. We have saved time at the end of the session to answer any questions that you might have live, but also our team will be answering those questions throughout. So you can drop your questions at any time in the Zoom Q&A button feature there, and they'll either type the response back to you or they'll mark the question for us to answer live at the end. And then we'll try to get to everyone's questions, but if we don't get to yours, or if you think of a question afterwards that you think, oh, I should have asked this during the session, no worries at all. Please know that you can always reach out to us directly via email at team@artworkarchive.com or by clicking on the chat icon in the bottom corner of the screen when you log into your account. Our goal today, again, is to show you how the bookkeeping and sales and expense tracking features work in Artwork Archive, how to use these tools for your art practice, and to answer all of your bookkeeping Artwork Archive feature-related questions. So I want to give you just a very quick agenda on the features that we're covering, just to kind of get you prepared for what to expect. We're going to go over a quick little bit about Artwork Archive, who we are, and what we do for any newcomers that we might have. I'm also going to introduce the sales pipeline feature that is in the platform, and then documentation and reporting for these features. And then I'll go into a live demo of these features in some kind of real-world case scenarios. And then at the end, we will wrap up with a live Q&A from questions that our team saves, again, from that live Q&A button that's in your Zoom menu. So make sure you put all your questions there. So we'll save some of them for the end. If you are brand new to the platform, we have a lot of people who you already have an account with us. You've been with us. I saw someone say they've been with us since 2017. If you've been with us for a while, great. For those of you who are newcomers, I'm just going to give you a quick little bit here of this. Today's session is for people who might already have their account set up. So if you're brand new and haven't created your account yet, no worries. You're still welcome here. Please stay. But we also recommend joining our Getting Started training webinar for artists. And this walks through the foundational features like uploading your artwork and setting up your account. And you can sign up for that session at any time via our webinars page, which is located in the Learning Center section and your left side menu. But Lauren is also going to paste that link to register for our Getting Started webinar in the chat. So look for that in the chat. She's going to paste that there in a second. And then for those of you who are new, again, just a quick little bit about Artwork Archive. We began in 2010 as one of the industry's first cloud-based art inventory management systems. Our goal from day one has been very simple. It is to help artists stay organized, grow their careers, and get their artwork out into the world. The financial tracking features that we're covering today are a perfect example of this mission. We, being artists and arts professionals ourselves, we built these tools for artists. So managing the business side of an art practice can sometimes feel overwhelming and time consuming. So Artwork Archive wanted to create something that makes that financial management feel less like a daunting task and to maintain and more like having a clear view of your creative business. We're going to do a quick poll in a second, but I want to quickly also introduce our team that is here with us. You'll notice there are three other squares in the panel that are on with me today. I'm going to go and introduce them in a second. My name is Anna. I don't think I've said my name yet. My name is Anna. I work with new and longtime users to help them make the most out of Artwork Archive. I'm also a visual artist myself. Before I actually started using these financial tracking features in Artwork Archive, tax time was absolutely chaotic for me. Maybe some of you guys can relate to this. I would be scrambling through emails, paper receipts, and bank statements, just trying to piece together what I had sold and what I had spent, and whether or not my art business or my art practice was even profitable. And if I was making a decent amount of money and what my net profit was. I once spent an entire weekend reconstructing my year's worth of sales from PayPal receipts and email confirmations, and it was miserable. If that has also been you, if you are having flashbacks to weekends where you realize, I just spent all this time trying to pull this information together, please say so in the chat. I see Monique is saying, yes, that has been me. Yes, absolutely. It has been a train wreck of past, memories of doing my own taxes or financial upkeep throughout the year. So that experience is exactly why we, being Artwork Archive, our team, and myself, are so passionate about these tools that we're going over today. These features transformed my entire approach to running my own art business from being reactive to being proactive. And our team is comprised of fellow artists and arts professionals as well. Again, three of them that are joining us today. You'll see their headshots here on the screen, a little bit about them. We have Katie, Lauren, and Anamika that are on the Artwork Archive team. They all are also experts on the tools and features that we're covering today. So they'll be monitoring the chat and answering any questions you send over in the Q&A and in your Zoom menu, and then they'll save, again, some at the end for that live Q&A that we'll go over together. So this is our team that is here to support you today, so feel free to drop your questions in the Q&A, and they'll be happy to answer throughout. Before we dive in, let's do a quick poll. Lauren is going to launch a poll about financial tracking and bookkeeping within your art practice. I see that it's up now. So now you should all see a poll window on your Zoom screen. If you wouldn't mind, just take a quick second to respond. It's one question. I'd put up two fingers. It's one question. It's one question. If you wouldn't mind just taking a second to respond so we can see what financial challenges are pressing for those of you who are with us today. The question is, what is your biggest struggle or stressor when it comes to the financial aspect of your art career? I'm going to leave you all a second just to kind of go through the options there. I see the numbers are coming in here. Great. And so I'm going to give y'all maybe about 10 more seconds. I'm going to take a sip of water while y'all are answering. Okay, Lauren, if you want to end that poll there. Okay, so the numbers have come in here. The biggest one, it seems, is difficulty categorizing art-specific expenses. That is a huge one. That is really, really big. Following up with that is scrambling to find sales records during tax season. And then in third place, there is no clear picture of financial patterns or trends. These are all, they're all slightly different, but all these questions and stressors do kind of go hand in hand. And so being able to look at what your biggest struggles are and then being able to pinpoint ways to finesse that and find a solution for you is going to get you back into the studio and doing less admin, back to creating. So if you're looking at the results here, just know based on this, you're not alone. You can see from the poll results that everyone else is kind of in the same boat with you. So these are the exact challenges that Artwork Archive's financial tools were designed to solve. So instead of creating your financial year from those scattered records that I talked about, you'll have real-time visibility into your income, your expenses, and your business insights all organized in one place and ready whenever you need it. All right, Lauren, you can go ahead and stop sharing that poll, and I'm going to move on to the next slide here. So I want to address something we hear from artists all the time. The phrase that's somewhere along the lines of, I'm creative and I'm not good with numbers. We hear that a lot. People think that you have to be one way or another. But the fact of the matter is, you don't need to be a financial expert to run your art business well. Sometimes you just need the right tools that organize information in a way that makes sense so that you can get back into the studio and actually making the work. So the features we're going over were specifically designed by artists, for artists, by people who understand creative practices. When I started tracking my practices properly, I discovered a few things. I'm going to be vulnerable here for a minute, and maybe some of you can relate to this. One of the things I discovered is that I was spending way more on supplies than I realized. If that has been you before, you realize, oh, that's actually a bigger expense than I thought. Let me know. The second thing I realized was that my most popular pieces weren't actually my most profitable ones. So let that sink in for a little bit too, in terms of volume versus price range. What's actually profitable for you? And then the last thing I realized was I actually was making decent money, but I just couldn't see it clearly because everything was scattered. And so I was kind of going forward in my art practice, just kind of hoping and a lot of guesswork of I hope this works out. I think it's doing what I hope it's doing. But that clarity changed everything for me. And our goal is to provide you with those tools so all of us can gain that clarity as well. We want all artists to have this exact type of mindset when it comes to the finance part of your art practice. So today we're going to focus on three interconnected areas that work together to give you that complete financial clarity: income tracking, expense tracking, and insights. So income tracking is recording the sales, generating the invoices, all within what is called the sales pipeline. So income tracking is the money that's coming in. Expense tracking is the money that's going out. That's categorizing your cost and maintaining your records. And then insights is that big picture. It's understanding the patterns and profitability in business health, referencing those two previous topics, income and expense. So these aren't entirely separate features because they do work together relationally within your account. And also when you're doing your calculations or when they're being calculated for you. So when you log a sale, it will automatically update your insights. When you track an expense, it's going to immediately reflect that in your profit calculations. So everything connects to give you a complete financial picture. So let me show you what income tracking actually looks like in practice within Artwork Archive. So on the left here, the one that says share, you're seeing a proposal within Artwork Archive. This is what your client sees. It's clean, it's professional, beautifully formatted with all of your artwork details automatically pulled from your inventory. And then on the right next to that is the next step in that kind of sales pipeline, which is invoice. So the invoice is when you will, bill for the work itself, whether it's commission, custom, or they're purchasing outright. And then next to that is reporting. So this is the sales report and the actual flow of that process, the end result of getting all the information in one spot. So everything is going to flow together. The proposal becomes an invoice with one click, and then the invoice becomes a sales record. And the sale updates your piece record, your contact history, and your insights all automatically. So there's no double entry, which is huge for me. I used to, For a while, I was using a notebook, which is hilarious when I think back to it to kind of keep up with all of this. And then I moved on to spreadsheets. That was also a little chaotic and having to learn spreadsheet worlds that I was not familiar with at the time. So now you're able to quickly and seamlessly use that pipeline from interest to invoice, not losing track of who's interested in what. You have the professional presentation that builds that collector confidence built right in. And it's that one system managing the entire sales journey versus multiple platforms, spreadsheets, notebooks, whatever kind of system you might be using now or having flashbacks for. So now let's talk about the money that's going out. This is your revenue and your expenses dashboard. So it's going to be under the income tab. I'm kind of pointing to it right now with my cursor. So that's the income tab. It's going to take you to both revenue and expenses. But if you see this drop-down menu here, and I'm also filtering by expenses only. So it's going to filter out the income data so I'm only looking at expenses. And then this drop-down menu here that says new report. This is if you use an accountant, this is their dream. If you do your own taxes like me and your own kind of financial bookkeeping like I do, this is also your dream. So you see here you can have a PDF or a spreadsheet exported or downloaded to your device. It's one click, you have the full PDF record of just the expenses, or if you want to do a combined sales and expenses. Same thing with the export to XLS or CSV will export that data as a spreadsheet. So one click, everything is organized by sales and expense categories, ready to hand over or review and reference for yourself. And then at the expense list down here and this screen grab here, it's going to show you all the details about the expense at a glance. So you'll see the type, the description, the info, the amount, and you can see exactly where your money went, where it's going. And then each one is categorized, dated, and documented in those reports as well. So you can export to your accountant in seconds. You'll know where your money is actually going. It's a beautiful thing. And here's where it gets really powerful is connecting your expenses to specific artworks, your piece records. So if those of you who have been using us for a while, you have your own account, you're familiar with your own piece records that's in your artwork archive inventory. So if you're not already aware of this, this is a hot tip of tracking expenses for each individual artwork. So you can look at the income box right here at the top left. It has your sale revenue, other revenue, total production cost, and then the calculation of revenue minus cost. So the revenue is showing that it's 1,200. You might think, okay, great, I made 1,200 on this piece, but that's not actually your profit. You have to take into account those overhead costs as well and any production costs. So you see that the other revenue is 500, so that's an extra money in your pocket. But then there's the total production cost, which is 370. So then the net profit for this piece is actually going to be $1,330. So that's going to show you your true profitability, not just, hey, I sold it for 1,200, but here's what it actually cost me, and here's my actual profit made. So if you look at the expense list down here, it's going to show you the revenue and expenses for just this artwork. Again, we have it for your full art practice, anything generic in the income section, but this is also for just this art piece. You can see this detailed out. I can see printing fees that are in here, new framing that is listed in here. So these are tied directly to this artwork. So you can see which work is actually profitable and maybe which works might be eating into your margins. And by that, I mean, those of you who might be making prints or reproductions of work, you might realize, oh, the overhead cost is actually not balancing out with how much I'm making back on it. So now I can see that's actually eating into those expenses. And this one right here, you can see printing fees for new print run. This tells me that this piece is actually waiting on maybe future income for this piece as I start selling prints of it. So this way you can know your true profit on every piece. Oftentimes we'll see artists or hear artists say, I'm not sure how to price my work. How do I know if I'm actually underpricing or not? This is actual calculation. This is actual data showing you where your money is going and if you need your net profit on a certain piece or pieces to be at a certain amount, you can look here to see what the profit is and you can start pricing more accurately to what makes sense for you. And another little vulnerability moment for me here. I have attached here a screenshot. This is from my own account. This is from Anna's own artwork archive account. This is one of my own expense records. This is a receipt picture I took here on the right, right after I left my local office supply store. My local art supply store. Alabama Art Supply is right down the road from me. I go to them for everything. I love them. They do this super itemized receipt. So every time I purchase something from them, either right when I get in my car or on my way out the door, I'll take a picture of the receipt, both the one that comes out of with just the quick deduction or the quick amount spent, but then also have the itemized receipt as well. So when I'm making my expense records or when I'm recording my expense records, I'll make sure to record and upload any images, or if it's being emailed to me, I'll download those email documents and attach it to an expense record too. That way I have every paper trail possible recorded. If I ever had questions or someone, wanted to see if I needed to reach out to an accountant about and they had questions on it, this is where everything is located. That way I'm not having to keep actual physical file folders. It's all in one place. And you'll notice that I actually have this expense record linked right here to a piece record. This will again automatically update the overhead costs for that piece, so I'm never losing documentation. And this is where everything's going to come together. This is at the third of those three pillars that I talked about is insights. This is your insights dashboard when you're in Artwork Archive. So look at all this information at a glance. We are visual people, we're artists. I personally love graphs and charts. So this is my dream. Piece values by location can be found on the interactive map. You have inventory values showing what you've sold versus what's still in your studio. And this type of data can show you in real time that hey, maybe it's time to start considering showing more and exhibiting more pieces that are just sitting in your studio. Maybe it's time to apply for more opportunities because you have those just sitting there. You also have sales by buyer right here in the sales report. You can see that one of the clients here, Madeline, bought three pieces for $39,000. That is a relationship worth nurturing. This way you can see at a glance what galleries, what venues, what locations, and what buyers are giving you more of their business. So every sale automatically flows into these visualizations. So you're not entering your data twice. You're not creating, separate spreadsheets. The system is going to do that for you. So, and also looking at sales by location here in the center, now you know which galleries are actually selling your work. It's great to say like, hey, I've got work at this gallery and that one, different contracts going on. Fantastic. But is it actually doing what you hope and think it's doing? This way you can just get a quick glance. Maybe you do it every quarter, every month, end of the year, whatever, just to kind of see what the status of your output out in the world with your artwork is. Some big benefits I want to really emphasize here is you can see patterns that you would never notice in a spreadsheet. I talked before about how I started with a notebook, then I graduated up to a spreadsheet, and now I'm able to use these tools. This information was completely in a blind spot for me. And if you're using spreadsheets or anything that's kind of more manual in that way, this is something that is really, really valuable. And you can understand which collectors are the most valuable, know which work is actually selling and at what price, so you can make decisions based on data and not just hopes and gut feeling. And so the next thing I want to bring top of topic here is why this matters. I've gone over a lot of nitty-gritty, behind the scenes work of the features in Artwork Archive. Why does this matter? Three different things. One is business decisions. When you can see what is selling, what's profitable, and where your money is actually going, you can make smarter choices about pricing and where to invest those resources. So you're not guessing, you actually know what is happening with your art business. Next is professional growth, so you can understand your finances, help set realistic goals, and plan for that growth, and approach your art practice as that same legitimate business that it is. And then galleries and collectors can tell when you're running your art practice professionally. It's very clear to collectors and gallerists and curators, etc. And then last year is peace of mind. There's real freedom in knowing exactly where you stand financially, so no more wondering if you can afford that workshop or new equipment. You'll have the data to decide confidently. So that last one there, that peace of mind, that's the transformation we hear from artists all the time. It's, I finally feel like I'm running a business and not just making art and hoping it works out. I actually have real data now and information to help support me as I'm continuing to create the work. So that is something to keep in mind is that peace of mind. So it's that confidence replacing anxiety, data replacing guessing, and professional systems replacing that scattered chaos. So you spend less time on admin and more on creating. So that's the tools at a glance and why they matter. So now let's dive into the actual platform. I'm going to show you how to actually set these up and use them step by step. We're going to walk through real world case scenarios here from recording a sale to tracking expenses and understanding your insights. As I am getting my screen share set up here, let me know in the chat what items here that we've gone over so far that you're really excited about. What things are you thinking? Oh, I'm so glad you mentioned that. I didn't realize I needed it, or I did realize I needed it. Thank you for sharing this. Let me know in the chat what things you're most eager to learn more about. And of course, don't forget any questions you have. Be sure to put that in the live Q&A in your Zoom menu. People are saying insights. Insights is a big one. Uh, let's see, all of the expense tracking. Yeah, tracking expenses. Expense tracking honestly was a big one for me. General overhead, rent, subscriptions, where does all that go? All of it. Yes. Okay, so we're gonna get into all of those details here. So I'm going to, during the demo part, I'm going to turn off my video so I can focus on the demo here. And let me make sure I'm back in. There we go. Okay. So we are in an Artwork Archive account for those of you who are new. This is your kind of landing page, your pieces page. But again, if you want that full overview of Artwork Archive, that 101 Mastering Art Inventory Management session that's for new artists is the webinar to attend after this. So make sure you sign up for that. So this is going to be, we're going to go deep dive right into the sales pipeline. So the sales pipeline is right here on the left side. And just so y'all know too, when I'm going through this, this is one of our artist demo accounts. So this is just kind of our sandbox that we like to show. We have several sandboxes, but this is one of them. So the sales pipeline here on the left side menu, when I click it, you'll see we have proposals, invoices, and sales and donations. So the proposals is creating those professional offers, invoices, generating those bills, and then sales and donations is recording those completed transactions. So let's walk through a real scenario. Let's say a collector reached out about commissioning a piece. So I'm going to go to proposals here. I'm going to show you how to create a proposal. I've got some sitting ones here that I've already made. I'm going to select new proposal here at the top. Again, starting from the beginning of the interest of purchase. And then we're going to kind of walk through the full journey. So we're starting off with the interest of the piece. I'm going to select a client that's already in my contacts. I'm going to select this client here. If you need to create a new contact, you'll just select create new contact and do that there. But I'm going to do select existing. You'll give the proposal a name. I'm going to say proposal for Cora. Give it a status. We'll say we're negotiating currently. This is a negotiating proposal. If I were making a real proposal, I would also include maybe a validity date until, and then also any notes, terms, specifications, that sort of thing, whether it's for a commission or for custom work or just a project or direct purchase outright. Then going down here, I would go ahead and select a piece or pieces that might be, if it were for a commission, I would select pieces that fit into the vein of the description of artwork that the client is interested in, or I would make a faux piece record that I would update over time for the custom work. But for this case, I'm going to do show filters here. I'm going to hide the addition so I can just find the original artworks. I'm going to select dish one and dish one. These look nice together. I'm going to say this, let's say this client is reaching out about purchasing outright. So I'm going to send them a few different pieces I think they might be interested in. And I'm going to click create proposal. And when I do that, this is my internal artist view of the proposal. If I want to see what the client would see when I click share proposal, I would go to visit. And this is the client's view of the proposal. I can click into the pieces themselves, read more about them, see, separate images that I have on them there. And then I'm going to share this proposal directly to the client. It will automatically include the contact from the contact record I've already set up. I could type a message here, but for now, I'm just going to go ahead and send it along for the sake of the demo. And so that has been sent. And so now let's say they've received the proposal, we talked it out, they say, yes, let's go forward. I want to purchase both pieces. So now we're ready to generate an invoice. So I'm going to click generate an invoice and watch what happens with one click. Oh, two clicks, I gotta say, okay, well, let's generate an invoice. And then now I have an invoice. And here it has pulled the information from me, the artist, the client, and their contact information, and the pieces themselves, all their details, calculated for me right there. It's all in one spot. I can preview the invoice to see what my client would see here. It looks so nice, and then they can pay directly. If I go back and select to enable PayPal buttons there and partial payments for any down payments, if you have like installments or if it's a commission project that requires a down payment. And then when I preview again, I can see that they can pay the invoice. And by the way, this feature is for the artist professional and master account levels, just FYI. But that is where to do that. You can always go back to view your proposal right here. But when I go back to view proposal, you'll see the status has been updated from negotiating to invoiced. So it's updated for me. And then I can also click on the piece record here, or one of them, and I can see that it has gone from being available to be marked as sold. It has updated the client information who purchased it. It has included a link to the invoice. I can view the sale details here. This is the sale record for this piece. If I needed to upload an additional file like I showed you with my expense records, I could upload more information here if needed. So not every sale, though, starts with a proposal. Sometimes someone buys directly at an art fair or from your studio. So here's how to record that. You can do so by going to the Sales Donations tab and clicking New Record, New Sale from there. I personally like to go the second way, which is going straight into the piece record. So I'm going to go to Artwork, Pieces, and I'm going to select this piece record that's not marked as sold. It's currently available. I'm going to select register sale here at the top. So there's two ways to register a sale, one through the sales pipeline, sales donations, and one through directly into the piece record. So I'm going to click register sale. I'm going to say I'm selling it to this contact. Again, I can create a new one if they're not already in my account, but this one is. Here's the price that I had the piece marked as. If I wanted to change the sale price, I could. If there's a discount or a commission, we'll say let's give it a 10% discount. It will automatically calculate that for me. I'll leave the date as today. It's not currently in location, so that's good. And I'm going to say save sale. So this is automatically going to update the piece record to sold. So if I go back to the piece, you'll see here's the sold here. It's going to add the contact's purchase history. So if I click on the contact themselves, it's going to take me to the contact record. And it's going to include the purchase history down here at the bottom. You'll see this piece that we just did from today with all the information. And I see that I have invoiced them before. And it includes your income tracking as well. When I go to income tab here on the left side, it's those three that I've just made a proposal for these two, and then I invoiced for this one. They're all updated here already, and it's going to feed into my insights. So no double entry, no spreadsheets. And here's something powerful. So when someone clicks on purchase on your public profile, if you already have your public profile here up and going, you can go to view profile here. Let's see, I think which one is still available? Is it this one here? Well, when you go, oh, I think it's this one here. Yes. When you go to your public profile, if you have a piece already that's still marked as available, someone can click purchase if you've enabled your purchase buttons, and then they can include your name, email, etc. And then you'll get that message directly into your artwork archive inbox. So let me go back over to my account. If I click on inbox here, any purchase requests will be here in my inbox. And what's amazing here is that I can actually take this purchase request and immediately turn it into an invoice. So let's see, let's go over here, see where it says create invoice. I'm going to select that. So one click, and I'm going to have a professional invoice ready to send. It has oh, let me go back over to the piece itself. Yeah, so it's got the invoice already ready to go. It's got the piece included in it there. So one click, ready to go. And at any time, I can see all of the sales in one place by going over to sales and donations here. And I can filter by date if I need to. I'm going to click date here. I can filter by, year to date, for example. So we'll see the most recent sales I just recorded listed here there. And so at any time you can see all of your sales in one place and then filter by date, export for your accountant, see what's selling. So whenever you filter and you click new report, this will download or export based on the filter that you have enabled. So it'll only include the information from your filter. So revenue isn't profit. So we just went over the revenue, sales income aspect. But now we're going to talk about revenue isn't profit. So you sold a piece for 1,200, great, but what if it costs you 370 to create and frame? Your actual profit is going to be different. So that's what the expense tracking shows you. Let's record a few different expense types. I'm going to go over to the income tab here. And this is where it's going to include both your revenue and your expenses. So you'll see some revenue items here. We've got some expense items as well. So to create a new expense record, I'm going to click New Item, Expense. Let's say I am purchasing paints. I'm going to mark it as the category for supplies. I'm going to leave it as today. That's fine. It's a one-time purchase. Let's say I spent 120 at the art store. Any notes I wanted to include there, I can. And I have the art store here, so I'm going to include that payee there. It's not for a specific piece, this one, so I'm going to leave it just generically in my expense reporting. So I'm going to click Save. And then here is the expense report itself. So when I go back to income, you'll see that it is listed here. Now let's go and make another one for expense. I can do art fair booth fee. I'm gonna make that as other fees for now. I'm gonna make the amount as 350. It's a one-time purchase. I'm gonna leave it as today. Any notes I want to include here, I can. I'm gonna say that, this person works for the art fair. So I'm gonna kind of put them as the payee and click save. So note that in income, it is actively deducting these expenses for me up here. So if I go to year to date 2026 so far, as I'm putting in these expenses, here's the total of expenses, here's the total of revenue. It's deducting that and giving me a combined amount. So it's actively calculating it for me. And then of course, when I do my reports, it's going to do that for me as well. I want to show you another really great thing about expense reporting here. I'm going to click out this little blue X to exit the filter. When I go to new item, expense, and let's say I am recording studio rent. This is a big one. It is not a one-time frequency. It's going to be a monthly recurring expense. I'm gonna say, let's say it falls on, I'm gonna record this month's. Say the first one was a few days ago, and let's say it's 800 a month, and any notes, etc. I can put there, but I'm gonna leave that as there for now and click save. And when I go back to income, you'll see that studio rent has been retroactively added here, and then going forward into the future months for this recurring expense, it will automatically include that in my expenses. And that way I won't have to remember oh, I forgot to add studio rent to expenses. It'll be there recording that for me. So notice that it also has those tax-friendly categories. So these are designed to make tax time easy. So now I'm going to navigate over to this piece here. This piece we marked as sold. So we're back in the full piece record. So this is where it gets really powerful. If you see this painting, let me show you how to view its complete financial history. So I'm going to scroll down here, down to the income section. We have the revenue because we marked it here as being sold. If I wanted to include a new item for this piece, I could do it within the income section, but I can also do it here. I can say new expense. We'll say paints, supplies, 150, one time, save. And you see right here, it says expense for piece. It's automatically doing that for me. I'm gonna click save. And now you'll see down here, has the expense here and it's deducting that cost. So it goes from 2,700 to the actual profit being made. So these expenses are connected to this specific piece. So now I know the true profit on the work. I'm going to click on this expense record just to show you if I did need to upload a paper receipt or an email confirmation for payment. I would just click add new file here, and that would upload from my device, whether it's your phone, laptop, computer, tablet, whatever works for you. And then you'll have that data as well if you need to reference it later. And then we go back over to the income tab. We talked about sales reports and income reports. If you want to filter by type, expenses, you can make a full expense report that only includes those deductions. And the same thing as before, if I click new report, a PDF and or a spreadsheet will be generated and downloaded to my device where I can get a quick glance of all of those expenses that are, separated by category for me. And then you can hand it off to your accountant and then you're done. Let me go over, well, actually, yeah, let me show you, let me go over to reports here to show you what a sales report looks like. So from the sales donations tab, here is a sales report here. So you can see your total revenue here by location, by buyer. We kind of saw a clip of this when we were in the slides earlier. But here you can look at sales by location. Now I know which galleries are actually selling my work. That informs where I invest my time. I can see that one of my clients here, Lonnie, purchased a piece or 4 pieces for this amount total. So I can see the net profit from this client. So this is a relationship worth nurturing for sure with a studio visit or maybe giving them a sneak peek with a private room for new work coming up. And then let me go over back to our account. I'm going to go over to insights here. So this is one of my favorite parts. So this is where all of your data is going to come to life. So everything we just recorded, sales, expenses, piece details, etc., automatically flowing into these visualizations. So start here. These 2 charts here show you complete inventory picture. So the green is showing you your sold pieces and the value of those sold pieces. The blue is showing the inventory that's available in your studio. And then the dark gray is showing you in location, the value of the pieces that are out in the world, consigned, loaned, or are being exhibited currently. And the same thing for your prints on the other hand as well. The same kind of categories apply there. Scrolling down here, at a glance, you know how much is sold, how much is available, how much is out in the world. But down here you can see sales by or values by location. So where your work is actually selling. So here we have this value amount of pieces currently at this studio, and then for this gallery we have the value of this amount at this studio. Or gallery. So I can see where the most value of my pieces are currently located. You can also compare this with your sales report that we just looked at. So sales by location and this to see, okay, here's what I was doing in the past, based on my filters for the sales report. Then I can compare to what's happening currently. And then I can see if I need to make some different decisions, if I need to make some adjustments going forward. Let me scroll down here. This is a great, great area that I really love pointing out is the production slash sales slash income over time. So these 2 bar charts, you can kind of go by year or by month, and it will change the data. And then you can filter the range here as you'd like. I'm going to go back to by year though, just for the sake of the demo. So this timeline view is incredibly powerful. So you can adjust the date range, see any period, and toggle between the month or year. The blue bars here on this top number of pieces chart is showing you the pieces that you've created. And then the green is showing you the pieces sold. So look at 2023, for example, here. I can say that, this artist created about 10 pieces, but very few were sold. And then in 2026, Boom, you didn't create many pieces, but you sold seven. So what does this information tell you? Maybe you had a really productive studio year in 2023 and then spent 2026 focused on sales and exhibitions and getting the work out into the world. Or maybe there's a lag between creation and sales. So this pattern helps you plan your creation cycles if that is kind of how you work in your studio. The second bar graph down here is the value of pieces. So this down here we have this is the same thing as this except in dollar amount versus inventory amount. So we're looking at dollars here. So the green bar here in 2026, that's over $20,000 in sold work. So even though we only sold seven pieces, they were high value pieces. So this tells me that the pricing strategy currently is working. You're selling fewer pieces at higher prices. That's often more sustainable than volume sales. So here's how I use these views to actually make business decisions. I'll do monthly check-ins. Maybe I'll look at recent production versus sales, see which locations are active, adjust my studio schedule accordingly. I'll sometimes do quarterly planning, so maybe you set a date range to the last 3 months here using this bar graph, compare to the same quarter as last year, and then ask yourself the question, am I creating enough to balance out the numbers? Am I selling enough? Where should I focus my time and my energy? And then at the end of the year, do a full look at the full year so far, or at the full, at the end of this year, 2026, do a full look at the year. Identify patterns of do I sell more in the spring or in the fall? Which locations consistently perform? Which opportunities should I chase more? And then plan next year's production pricing and gallery strategy based on that data and not gut feeling. And that way, two, you're able to figure out like what time is best to say I can spend this time fully heads down the studio versus I need to put my head back up into the world and get the work out there. So this transformation isn't just seeing the data, it's also knowing what to do with it. So I'm turning my camera back on here, and I'm going to go back over to the slides and just to do another back up to the slides here. Make sure it's actually showing them. The wonders of Zoom. Okay, so the key takeaways here. So that's the complete picture that we just went over. It's from recording that income to tracking expenses to understanding what it all means at the end of the day. So now you can see exactly why when we say this transforms your art practice, it's not just about organization, it's also about that financial clarity. So here, the compound effect is incredible when you put them all together. So you can see you can professionally manage and track your revenue and your expenses with confidence. And then you can also focus on creating instead of administrative headaches. So that is the full presentation that I have prepared for you. And now I want to pass the mic over to Katie, who is going to pop up some questions for us to go over together.
Great. Thanks, Anna. We are getting so many great questions from you all, and we're trying our best to get through all of them. If we haven't gotten to your question yet, we will try and follow up after this session. But some questions that we're seeing a lot of, people are wondering how to log general expenses. So if we can go in one more time and show where to send log a general expense, like paying an assistant or materials for general expenses.
Yeah, that's a great question. So I'm gonna go back over I go to income. So that's where you would go to log general expenses. We went over specific art tracking as well. But if I'm going into general income here, I did show you a recurring general expense. Similar kind of route here is I would go to new item. So whether it's a sale, other revenue or expense, you always click new item. So I'm gonna go new item expense. And then let's say I like the idea of an assistant fee. So I'm gonna use that as an example here. Let's say we spent this last month. If it's a one-time fee or if it's an assistant that you pay monthly or if they're salaried, however you've got that set up, but I'll just say for this sake, it's a one-time fee. I'll say the amount maybe was 400. I'm just picking a random thing here. Include any notes, etc. I'm gonna click save. And so this is the expense fee for generally in your income. When I go to income, and again, income is using that term to include both revenue and expenses. You'll notice when I click this, it says revenue and expenses here at the top. So you'll know what you're looking at here. And if I scroll down here, since I had it added retroactively, you'll see it's down here as assistant fee with the total, and it's going to include that in the deduction here at the top. And then if I need to filter that, by type, expense, I can do that there. I can also do it by date if I want to look at a certain date range for those general expenses. Does that help answer the question? Did I
Yeah,
get to the
yeah, perfectly. And I think a lot of people are asking about grants and awards. So that's a category in there as well that you could log
Mm,
that.
yeah,
And
yeah.
then we got this question a lot too, is if you are say buying bulk materials and then you want to split up that, would you recommend splitting that up, or do you recommend keeping that as a general expense and kind of estimating if you want to get very granular?
That's a great question. That's something that I myself have kind of trial and errored. I'll give you an example. I'm a painter, so I buy tubes of paint. There is not really a way to know exactly what percentage of the tube of paint was spent on that one work versus other works, unless you truly just use that entire tube of paint on that one painting. If that were the case, I would say, hey, you purchased that tube of paint for just that painting, that expense can go to that piece record. What I do if I'm purchasing materials that are going to be used across multiple artworks, that will be a general expense. So I just go to new item here, expense, just in the income tab. But for things like canvases or I paint on wood panel, or if, trying to think of other mediums, that's the one that comes to mind because that's my medium that I use. But if I'm purchasing canvases or wood panel that's only for one artwork, I include that in the piece record expenses directly. You can also do that when you're going to expenses, and you can select the piece here as well by typing typing in there. That's my recommendation. It depends on your medium. It depends on how you use the medium per piece.
Perfect. Exactly. That's what I was thinking.
Mhm.
Also, we have some questions about how do gallery commissions for a piece work? So this would be more on the sale
Mm,
itself, but a lot of questions on how is that commission logged in your sales and expenses?
that's a great question. I'm gonna go over to one that we already have marked as sold from the demo that we just did. I'm gonna click on this record here. And I'm going to go to show you how you can actually edit a sale. So say you marked it as sold, you put in all the information, you realize, I forgot to add the commission or, a discount or sales tax or whatever. I'm going to click on edit sale here. And you'll see it's got the sale price. If there's a discount, you can go by dollar amount or percent. Same thing with commission. So it's say, you're working with a gallery that does 40% commission fee. You can include that there. So you'll know your net profit versus the sale price that the piece was sold for to the client. This is really important, especially if you're selling through a third party. So if you're selling directly from your gallery, from your studio, like from an open studio event or an art fair, and it's just you doing the sale, you're probably not going to take the commission field into account. If you're selling through a gallery or another third party venue, whatever it may be, this is something you'll want to pay attention to because this will also affect your net profit. And then also I saw someone in the chat saying, "What about sales tax?" Great question. For the sake of the demo, I just kind of grazed past that, but also take into account too that the sales tax field is here. So I think I think it's 9% sales tax. So you'll just make sure you include that there. And then when I click Save Sale, you'll see that it'll take that all into account and give you the total with tax, with the commission, and the sale revenue. So it'll break all of that down. And then when I go to invoice for this, it will update that information here as well. So whenever you edit the sale and it's already in the live invoice, it will update that for you. So those total calculations will be up to date. You don't have to chase it around.
Thanks. And while we're
Yeah.
on invoices, lots of questions also about payment options on the invoices. If it's only PayPal,
Ooh.
how would you add something maybe like Venmo or Zelle, or log it if someone paid you in cash? Can you walk us through how to do that?
Yeah, that's a great question and something I meant to go over. So I'm glad you brought that up because that was on my agenda and I got carried away. So when you go to, I'm just going to go into edit this invoice. You can do it also when you're creating an invoice, but for the sake of this, I'm going to go into edit an invoice to show you what that looks like. So here you'll notice that it gives you the invoice number that you can adjust. Same thing with the dates. You can adjust those. The pieces, you can add new sale, line items, shipping costs. You can update that information here and it will automatically deduct that here at the bottom in your payment buttons. So the payment button here for the artist professional and master account levels, you can enable digital payment processing. This means that when you send the invoice to your client, they can go and access the invoice that you sent them and pay online digitally via PayPal, debit, or credit card. And that means that the payment that's made digitally by your client will then go to the artist, your PayPal account. So we're not taking any commissions or percentages out of the money that you're making from the sale. We're just setting you up with the tools to be able to make the sale. So you're getting all that money direct to your PayPal account. So if you're using the payment buttons for them to sell digitally, it's PayPal, debit, or credit card. If you have another payment option that you prefer to use, the way to do that is to go up to your notes section right here. And these little tools up here are what we call the rich text editor. So if I type in direct purchase link, if I want them to pay via Venmo, Zelle, or Cash App, that sort of any kind of payment app, I can type that in, whatever wording I want to use. I'll click this hyperlink tool here and I'm going to type in artworkarchive.com just for the sake of the demo, but you would give the full URL of the payment link. So if it's Venmo, it would be your full Venmo profile link. Make sure that you use the beginning of the full URL, that HTTPS colon backslash backslash. The easiest way to do that is just to copy the full URL here at the top of your browser and just paste that there so that it'll be a fully functioning link. And then you'll just click link. And you'll notice here now it is a clickable link. So when I click save invoice, I can now select this and it will take me to, well, Artwork Archive because that's what I chose. But it would take you to the link that you put in there. If you are instead wanting check or cash instead for your payment method, you would just include that information here in the notes. So if it's a check, for example, that you're wanting the person to mail to you, if it's a different mailing address than what you might have up here, just include that in the notes. And then if it's a direct cash pay for meeting in person, you can just put a note there like, hey, we're meeting up on Friday. I'll be delivering the piece to you then. We can do the cash exchange then, and just any other details about that you can include in the notes.
Great. And then for the sake of time, we had some people, I think maybe with accounts, saying they couldn't find the income tab on the left and just wanted to go over that this was for professional. It's available on professional and master accounts and just show right here. And then I know we have a lot of questions still in there. We got through about 80 of your questions and we have about
Oof.
60 more. So we are trying our best over here to get through all of them, but we will be following up with your questions. And I think that's about it for time. It's 12:59.
Okay, great. Yeah, those are some really good questions. And like Katie said, uh if we're not getting to your questions, no worries. Our team has taken note of all the questions in the Q&A and we'll follow up with you personally and directly afterwards to make sure we get your questions answered. So many good questions. And yes, I want to also echo what Katie just shared about the account type. So expense and income tracking is with the artist professional and master account levels. So if you're on apprentice and you don't see it, that's why. If you have any questions for us on the account type, what you have access to, you could always go to our pricing page or you can reach out to us directly and we can kind of help guide you with what makes the most sense for you and where you're at in your art practice. I want to leave you with a few things here that these are some other free resources. I see that my slides again are not proceeding. Okay, there we go. I'll leave you with a few things here. We have a ton of resources available to you in the form of video tutorials, articles, and blog posts. You'll get these slides in the follow-up email as well. And these are all clickable links. So when you go through the slide deck, you'll get to the slide, you can just kind of click into these. Same thing with this Artist Guide to Finances and Taxes. This is also there for you. You don't need an account to access these, and they're free to access. I just looked through the finances and tax guide, I think yesterday before this webinar, and let me tell you, it is super detailed and has a treasure trove of information. So those are there for you. And then one more thing I also wanted to point out is we have another free live webinar next month on April 15th about the complete artist opportunity workflow with Artwork Archive. So that's the call submissions tab, also using exhibitions and planning for any opportunities such as open calls for exhibition, residencies, grants, etc. So be sure to register for that. I think Lauren is going to paste the link to that in the chat. And if I didn't have it prepared already, I'll also be sending you that link in a follow-up email with the recording. So you'll get this link there as well. So I'm pretty excited for that. I think it's just at the right time of year too. This is the time of year when people start thinking about upcoming exhibitions and residencies and that sort of thing for this year and for the following year. So stay tuned for that link. And then again, we went over this was an artist master account, so it had all of the features available, including the income and expense tracking. If you're on the apprentice level, just know that you can always reference this information by going to our pricing page on artworkarchive.com/pricing. If you have any questions, again, reach out to us, email, live chat. We don't use any bots on live chat. It's going to be us on the other end. So reach out to us if you have any questions on what makes sense for you, and we'll help guide you to the right tier for where you're at in your career. And then a bunch of other free resources for you, newsletters, blogs, a social media team, all that good stuff ready in there for you, free to access, no account needed. You can find all those on our website as well. So thank you so much, all of you, for joining. If you have any additional questions, please do not hesitate to reach out. And check out the Resource Center for additional video tutorials as well. Thank you so much, and I hope you all have a fantastic rest of your day. Take care.